Welcome, everybody. Ossi gave a great speech about what I am. Basically, I'm a digital person. I'm working where I want to work. I'm working anytime I want to work. There is no restriction in terms of time or location. I have this great benefit and adventure to do that. And when I shared this with my friends and my people around me, they seem not to like that. For them, the separation of private and work is really important to them. So I did a little bit of research to understand why I get this feedback. And this is basically the summary of my research. So by no means this is any expert opinion. It's basically a journey I want to take you on that I took over the last couple of months and years. So when I look at work, I see 3 dimensions of work separating from private life. So you have the physical separation, you have the time separation, and you have this emotional separation. And I want to walk you through what I found out, and most of all, I want to encourage you to enter a dialogue. So I'm sure there's some smart person here in the room who can continue that and have great dialogues about it. So when we're looking at work, we need to look back. And I wondered, when did that happen, that work was suddenly something that we specifically call out? Because when you're researching, you find out that work was actually survival, hunting for food, finding food, then building groups so together we can have an easier access to food. And then many things happened. Fast forward a couple of thousand years, we are arriving at the Industrial Revolution. And what happened is that from looking back, it's a very romantic view we have right now. Great inventions, the steam engine, mass production, also social inventions. When you're looking at it, Ford had the idea that everybody should be paid a decent wage to pay for a car, produced, of course, by Ford. So he was not just smart, but he was also good in marketing. So when you're looking back there, you think this is an awesome development from a society perspective. But when you're looking at the individuals, they suffered. The people at the time didn't see this as a great development. They didn't say, oh, that's awesome, that's fantastic, I can work 16 hours a day and get hardly paid enough to survive. And many of them died. Tuberculosis took away about 40% of the people that died in the working class died of tuberculosis. And that was not because harsh working environments, it was harsh living environments. They were squeezed into small rooms. So when you're looking back, you see that there was suddenly this separation from work and life. And from a society perspective, it was awesome, it was fantastic. But from an individual perspective, it was not that good. But later, now looking back, we all appreciate mass production. When you're looking at the stuff you're wearing right now, if you have the budget that I have, it's mass produced. Maybe a few of you out there have individually produced stuff, but most of us appreciating that there are people working for low wages right now. So you have this separation of work and life on a physical level, and you have this connection of hands who create something amazing. Now, when you're looking in today's world, my world is looking like that. I consider myself a knowledge worker. What does it mean? I don't produce anything, you can't take anything I do home, you just pay me money for my experience and my ideas. So, from a society perspective, that is again amazing. We have this access to an enormous amount of creativity. It's suddenly we can start thinking about things and they happen just because we have those thoughts. We have those access to education and information and knowledge. There's a long way for us to go that education is generally available to everybody, but it's an enormous step forward for us to have that access of information. But let's look at the individual level again. On an individual level, we feel sometimes pain. Our boss is creeping in our free time at night, sending us mails. How many of you have a BlackBerry? How many of you have an iPhone? So suddenly, you know, when you had that BlackBerry time, it was like clear work. Now we have this fun toy. Well, our boss is smart enough to giving us an iPhone and sending the mail home, so we work on that. How many of you work 8 hours or less a day? 10 hours? 12 hours? 16 hours? Startup or banker? Startup, because you're here. As a banker, you would sit in the tower. So what we see is that on a society perspective, we see an enormous achievement, but on an individual level, we feel the pain. You know where we feel the pain? In our back. You know, back pain. 40% of knowledge workers complain about back pain. From heavy lifting iPhones. Interesting enough, the same 40% also complaining about their job. So there's something about happiness and pain. But my point is that as the knowledge society is now taking over, and it's not something new, it started actually during the Industrial Revolution. You know, we need to organize the shifts, we need to make sure we recruit enough people, we pay people, so it's not something new. But the digital revolution has made it that it is in our everyday life. So what we see here is that this time separation of work and life goes away. And I think it's a great thing. But some of us individually feel the pain. As a society, we're going to benefit from that. You remember me in 200 years. Now, when you're looking, what's next? What's next? We see that networks are growing and creeping into our lives. And what happens is that this is another amazing opportunity for all of us. We're getting connected to those that we want to be connected. What's the difference between your friends on Facebook and your family? You can pick the friends on Facebook. What you can't do with your family. So we're building our new families. And again, from a society perspective, that is an amazing opportunity. We're adding the emotions now to it. When you're looking back, we had the separation of work and life on a physical level and location level. And now with the knowledge workers, we get this time separation of work and life to disappear. And with the networks, the emotional separation of life and work will go away. When I told this my friends, because I was trying to get them into my ideas, they were kind of like, no. I'm not going to take part of that. I want my 8 hours of work. I want my 8 hours of fun with the family and want my 8 hours of sleep. I said, why? Why? When you're looking back, when we were farmers and hunters, in the morning you got up, sun was there, hunting a deer, eating it, sitting together with your family. And then we had this change, and suddenly life and work were two separate things. Now with the networks, that goes away. Do you like that individually? Invasion of privacy is a big issue. So everybody feels, I don't want anybody to look into my life and to see what's going on. So do you build a wall around your backyard when you have a barbecue? So your neighbors walk by and they greet you, hey, how's barbecue? You want to come over, have a beer? Sure, come over, have a beer. What's the difference posting the pictures of the barbecue online? There is no difference. But somehow, on an individual level, we fear that. And that's okay. It's absolutely okay. You don't have to agree with me. But what I can tell you, when you fast forward, we as a society will look back and say, that was an amazing change. That was an awesome change. So when you're looking at what's going on, I see those three major phases. You have this work, when you're physically lifting things. You're building something in a factory. And then you start thinking and become a knowledge worker. And now you're adding the emotions. You love your work. The gentleman there who is in a startup, he's not working 16 hours because he's getting paid so much, because he agrees with what's happening in this company. He agrees with the cause that he's working on. And so this emotional separation of work and life, if that goes away, then we're going to see an amazing change happening. So when you're looking at the whole thing, my point is, the connection of hands helped us to achieve fantastic products. because mass production and the ability to automate things have allowed us to do things that are beyond imagination. And the connection of brains have led to an enormous amount and level of creativity and knowledge and wisdom and education. We see a boost in all of that right now. And if we're looking at the connection of hearts, I think we really can make a difference. It's going to not just be limited to work, it's going to be something that goes beyond work. So when you asked, when I did my research, and unfortunately, when I was done with the research, I came to the conclusion that I'm not caring so much about the evolution of work. What I really care about and what the core subject is the evolution of life. And when we go back to this old village, when the people before they moved into the cities, and when they sat together and you work together and you work with a family, you're going to see exactly the same thing going forward. You're going to have your community around you, the people you're connected, and that's going to be your family. And hopefully it's going to be some overlap of your real family, but that's going to be the evolution of work turning into the evolution of life. And I find this an amazing topic. I did it just as a curiosity, so I encourage you to continue to investigate, find stuff, challenge my stuff, and I hope we're going to have a great dialogue about it. So thanks a lot.